everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Joni Mayville, the Senior Director of Product Development at 95% Group, and I'm joined by Justin Carlson, our Senior Product Manager. And we're excited tonight to share tools and strategies that can help make your work more efficient while supporting students who need intensive support with reading. So let's go ahead and get started. So here's a quick look at the roadmap for our timeline together. We're going to start with a short introduction to 95% Group, who we are, and our 195 literacy ecosystem, which is our vision for bringing all the pieces of literacy instruction at all tiers together in one connected system. Then I will turn it over to Justin, and at that point, he will go ahead and give you a tour of our Tier 3 literacy solution, 95 RAP, also known as the Reading Achievement Program. This program is specifically designed to provide intensive intervention to students who continue to struggle despite supports at Tier 1 and Tier 2. So you'll also get a quick preview of the professional learning component of 95 RAP and learn how it impacts both educators' knowledge and student outcomes. And then finally, you'll get a quick glimpse, a short video on how investing in 95 RAP was a true game changer for both teachers and students in a North Carolina district. So you don't want to miss that. So before we dive in, it's important that we share our core belief that guides our work at 95% Group. We believe that all children can learn to read. This includes students from all backgrounds, students with learning differences, language variations, as well as those who are experiencing challenges outside of school. All really means all. Our purpose is simple but profound. We aim to unlock the power of literacy for every child. We see literacy as the key that opens doors to opportunities, and we're passionate about putting that key in the hands of every student. And our approach really focuses on supporting teachers with tools, knowledge, and resources needed to really make that mission become a reality in every classroom. So I'm going to pause for a minute so you can read this statement. Because you've joined this webinar, it leads me to believe that we all can agree that literacy is a fundamental human right. It's not a luxury or a privilege. It's essential for secure, productive, and a purposeful future. That's why 95% Group is committed to providing high quality, evidence-aligned reading instruction for all students. So let's talk about what is a literacy ecosystem. This may be new to some of you, but the 195 literacy ecosystem is unique. It's designed to bring a coherence to literacy instruction across all tiers. So I'm going to give you a scenario that's probably very familiar to most of you. There's too often teachers will struggle with programs that don't align. So they'll have different approaches, maybe different academic vocabulary is used, different manipulatives are used, there's disconnected assessment data. So I bet most of you could probably relate to this. While our ecosystem really solves this problem, it keeps the routines, instruction, and language consistent in all tiers, Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. And this really helps students focus on learning the skill instead of adjusting to multiple systems. And it gives you as the teacher a clear and connected pathway for literacy growth. Really helps your instruction to become more efficient as well. So ultimately, the 195 literacy ecosystem is more than just a collection of programs. It's cohesive, it's mission-driven, it's a system of resources and professional opportunities that all work together to help every child and teacher reach their full potential. So as a reminder, this is the last part of a three-part series. So if you joined us for the first two webinars, you learned about our Tier 1 and Tier 2 solutions, so you'll recognize this slide. This infographic outlines the components of our literacy ecosystem. You could see at the top that Tier 1 includes our 95 Phonics Core Program and sortagories, which is used really to build that strong foundation in kindergarten through fifth grade. We know that having a solid core is really going to help support us in minimizing the number of students that are going to then move into Tier 2. In the case where Tier 2 is part of your instructional routines, you're going to use that phonics screener for intervention to identify students that need specific needs specific skills and to fill gaps. And our 95 phonics lesson library will provide that targeted instruction based on those results. Tonight, we're going to go ahead and shine a spotlight on our Tier 3 literacy solution, 95 WRAP, the Reading Achievement Program. 95 WRAP provides small, intensive intervention that leads, small group intensive intervention that is teacher led, but it is enhanced with technology. It builds on the same scope and sequence as we have in Tier 1 and Tier 2 programs. So students aren't starting over, they're actually getting more. It's that additive approach. So it's more time, more intensity, and more focus on the skills that they need to be able to move forward and become grade level proficient much more efficiently. And of course, there's at the bottom the that professional learning, which is really our base or foundation of our ecosystem. It's always our goal to make sure that teachers feel confident and capable in implementing any of our programs and can carry with them the knowledge they need to be confident reading teachers. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to my colleague, Justin Carlson, who'll go ahead and take you into have a deeper look at 95 WRAP and show you what it looks like in practice. Take it away, Justin.
Thank you, Joni. Thanks for the intro. Hello, everybody. Thank you for your time tonight. I know it's a busy time of year, and really appreciate you being here and spending some of that time with us instead of thinking about the 100 other things you probably have going on in your school lives right now. Today, we're here to learn about 95 Tier 3 Literacy Solution, which is delivered through, as Joni mentioned, the 95 Reading Achievement Program, or 95 WRAP. So I'll be calling it 95 WRAP or WRAP tonight. 95 WRAP is an intensive intervention for students from kindergarten and beyond. 95 WRAP is a teacher-delivered direct instruction methodology that is integrated with technology and leverages a web-based app to streamline tasks related to class management, individualized instruction, skill tracking, and reporting. I like to say app does a lot of the heavy lifting while still allowing teachers the ability to make instructional decisions based on each individual student. 95 WRAP is a true Tier 3 intervention. So when you think about Tier 3, we think about the tiers of instruction. This diagram illustrates the three-tiered model of instructional support often used in literacy and intervention frameworks. The upward arrow signifies that as we move from Tier 1 to Tier 3, there's an increase in time, intensity, and focus of instruction. This model ensures that every student receives the level of support they need to succeed in literacy. 95 WRAP is a Tier 3 intervention, providing the most intensive and individualized level of instruction designed for students with significant learning needs. Students in Tier 3 can thrive with the right support. I'd like to share a little more about students requiring Tier 3 instruction. Only a small number of students need intensive intervention. They often face complex social, emotional, and learning challenges, including dyslexia. Without clear standards and effective support, these students continue to struggle academically, behaviorally, and emotionally, impacting their long-term success. Persistently struggling readers need a very high level of support to succeed. While the research tells us that only 5 to 10% of students will need intensive intervention, what we've heard from educators across the country is delivering the right intensive support is incredibly challenging. It is time intensive and resource heavy. Research on effective intervention supports this. It requires even longer duration than Tier 2 intervention at over 20 weeks, and between 45 to 120 minutes per day for maximum impact. And it takes between 40 and 200 repetitions to ensure mastery of a skill. Who are the students who benefit the most from 95 WRAP? These are students with language-based reading difficulties, including weak phonemic awareness. Students with reading more than 2 grades below their current grade, haven't responded to other interventions, and because WRAP follows a structured routine, maintaining a perky pace throughout the components addressed, students with attention challenges thrive. 95 WRAP is a successful solution because students need a structured literacy approach to become proficient readers. 95 WRAP is a comprehensive structured literacy program which includes phonics, phonologic awareness, fluency, spelling, vocabulary, and comprehension. Students have a history of reading difficulties resulting in gaps in their foundational skills. WRAP is individualized by starting with a diagnostic assessment to identify gaps in students' foundational skills and target instruction to students' unique deficits. Students often need simplified directions and less teacher talk given their language-based challenges. RAP is explicit and direct, with instructional dialogue provided to maintain consistent routines. And students are likely to need more than 10 times the number of repetitions on a skill to reach mastery. RAP is mastery-based. Students have many opportunities to practice a skill to gain automaticity. Each student response is recorded, and the student does not advance to the next skill until mastery criteria is met. So 95 RAP has all the pieces required for an effective Tier 3 intervention. Everything is included in this purpose-built solution. Robust professional learning with one-on-one coaching supports teachers with implementing to fidelity to improve outcomes. Integrated diagnostic assessment aligns instruction, which targets skill deficits. All curriculum and decodable texts are included and always available, which saves time for planning and gathering materials. Skill mastery is constantly tracked, and these skills are automatically targeted, which simplifies Tier 3 implementation and empowers the teachers. So as I mentioned earlier, 95 RAP is a comprehensive solution grounded in the science of reading. RAP provides explicit, systematic instruction following a clear sequence with skills being taught directly and intentionally. Our diagnostic tools help to identify skill gaps and provide data that informs instruction while supporting differentiation. Through systematic, for example, clear scope and sequence, and explicit, for example, scaffolding, gradual release of responsibilities, students are given increased opportunities to build independence as readers. A RAP lesson includes 7 components to address key areas of reading instruction. Instruction is divided into small units designed to give just right level of instruction while holding student attention as it moves from one component to the next. Teachers are provided a range of time for each component to meet the needs of their learners. The flexibility for teachers and students allows the instruction to move as quickly as possible, but as slowly as needed as students work towards mastery. 95 RAP is individualized. RAP stands apart from other Tier 3 solutions because of the individualized nature of the program. We meet students where they are and move them at their own pace, working towards mastery every step of the way. Based on a diagnostic assessment, students are placed in the scope and sequence to target skill deficits. Let me show you a little more about that now with some actual interaction with what the technology looks like. This is the word attack component, which is the component where we teach decoding and applying phonics rules. Word attack provides a great example of this individualization. The skills for each student have been identified at their individual levels based on an initial diagnostic assessment and that ongoing data tracking. So I'm going to click on the teacher screen on the left. As you can see from this teacher screen, each student in this group is working on a different skill. Tia is working on diphthongs. Van is working on long vowel silent E words. Mabel is working on short vowel compound words. And Gus is working on CVC closed syllable. So they're each working on their own skill based on that initial diagnostic placement and then that ongoing mastery model where they don't advance until they show mastery of a skill. So a typical classroom RAP group setup would be 4 or 5 students in a small group where each student has a device and the teacher has a device. So you'd see a teacher connected and then you'd see your students connected, your 4 students connected. And then once the teacher would start the component on that previous screen, there was a button that said start word attack, for example. Each student would see individualized content on their screen, and they would only see their content. And then the teacher would have a very quick preview of the lesson that she would deliver to each student. So in this example, we have Tia, Van, Mabel, and Gus. On the left-hand side, here's the teacher screen. If I zoom in on the teacher screen, I can see here's Tia's lesson, those diphthongs. And here's that teacher dialogue with the gradual release instructional dialogue that says, hey, today we'll read words with diphthongs UE and EU. We go on to have the full teacher dialogue here, including the parts of the student lesson where the student replies in this dark blue color, and the teacher is able to move through this whole lesson, which includes the activity for marking on the screen. We have an example of the activity here as one of the prompts and also the hand gesture. And then if I were to go over to Tia's screen and look at her screen, she's going to see the exact corresponding content. She's going to be able to use the pin tool in the lower right-hand corner or the highlighter tool to do the activity that the teacher has instructed her as part of the lesson. And then she would work on her words. And then the teacher would be able to navigate quickly to the next student. So the next student is Van. Van is working on these long vowel silent E words. Again, we have that very brief gradual release lesson here. We have an example of the markup and the hand gesture to go along with that. And then on Van's screen, he is just seeing that content. And again, he's going to be working after the teacher starts him, he's going to be working on marking his words. That's the strategy we're using in this activity or lesson. And then when he's done, he's going to read those words to the teacher. The next student is Mabel. So Mabel's going to have yet again a slightly different lesson, very brief. The teacher's going to deliver in a really short burst of instruction, and then Mabel's only going to see that content on her screen that's related to her. She's not going to see what the other students are working on. And the last student in this example is Gus, and he's working on these CVC with mixed short vowel sounds. So here's the lesson for Gus. Here's his markup. He's going to label the vowels and the consonants. We have an example of that on the next screen. He's going to mark his short vowel sound with a breve or a brev. And then on Gus's screen, he's just going to see the corresponding content. So you're really able to deliver 4 different lessons in that same space. And they're all individualized. So each student's getting just what they need to focus on the skills based on what they're learning. So RAP is explicit. The explicit nature of RAP provides students with direct and systematic instruction they need to build knowledge and close instructional gaps. The methodology provides teachers with instructional dialogue and techniques to meet the needs of each student. The explicit nature of the program allows for repeated practice with frequent feedback. Our teacher-led, tech-supported solution equips teacher with instructional dialogue to deliver explicit, individualized instruction, allowing them to focus on teaching rather than creating materials. Here you see our phonological awareness skill introduction screen. As you can see, the instructional dialogue walks the teacher through the gradual release to ensure students understand before moving into individual prompting. And this screen allows for as many modeling items as you need, and then we move on and provide as many practice items as you need with your student before we move to individual prompting. So it really gives you a lot of resources to introduce and teach these skills to your students. RAP is mastery-based through high-quality instruction delivered by highly trained educators, coupled with the repetition required of Tier 3 students. Students build automaticity, accuracy, and mastery of concept. The app collects data with every mark the teacher captures during a lesson and supports the teacher by moving to new instructional skills in the scope and sequence after students have demonstrated mastery. So here is an example of the teacher word attack screen where the teacher is seeing the student's markings on her screen and she's able to score. They're using that check H and dot. Through the mastery model of 95 RAP curriculum, students receive the repetition they need to build a lasting foundation of knowledge. Teachers capture responses and provide explicit feedback throughout the components. The app tracks the scored responses to determine mastery and moves students to the next skill once it is achieved. The teacher is informed when the students are moving to a new skill so the teacher can plan for instruction. So the teacher marks the response, the app tracks that progress towards mastery, and the teacher is informed when to advance to the next skill and provided with the lesson for that skill. 95 RAP constantly tracks usage and skills progress data. In the first image on the left, that's a dashboard view of the student and group level that provides a view of when the group is meeting or when the student is attending and how much time they've spent in instruction in each of those components. So it's a real great overview of the usage and the implementation that's happening. In the middle image, 95 RAP tracks progress towards skill mastery, including showing fluency stats for word level and connected text fluency. In the image on the right, student progress towards mastery appears on the screen during instruction, and teachers can drill in to see detailed progress on a skill, including assessment results, individual scores for each item. This includes the percentage complete for the entire list and for those individual items. Implementation and the students receiving the intervention are critical for successful outcomes for Tier 3 to achieve the required intensification. The 95 RAP app shows teachers and administrators detailed information about usage and student progress. 95 RAP is professional learning focused. At the heart of 95 RAP is the teacher. The most effective way to support students with the greatest need is to equip educators with deep knowledge and expertise with support along the way. By investing in professional learning, we create a sustainable system of support that reaches every student through empowered teachers. It's not only knowing what to teach, but how to teach it. So professional development is embedded in our 95 RAP training. Through both an asynchronous coursework and live virtual sessions, teachers learn the how and why of teaching students to read, providing the tools to meet students where they are. As Louise Moat said, teachers, not programs, teach students to read. 95 RAP professional learning provides opportunities for teachers to understand how students learn to read, provides explicit instruction method, and houses the curriculum in the app for ease of implementation and data keeping. Professional learning does not end with the coursework. To make the greatest impact on student achievements, teachers must receive coaching support as they implement what they've learned in their classrooms. Coaching has the greatest impact on classroom application. An investment in RAP is an investment in the teacher. The training includes 2 asynchronous courses to deepen knowledge of reading instruction and the RAP methodology. These courses are followed by an interactive live webinar focused on small group practice sessions where every teacher practices using the app. Once teachers begin implementing, they will receive 3 one-on-one virtual coaching sessions where one of our RAP coaches will review a lesson, provide timestamp feedback, and narratives about the lesson. The teacher and coach will then debrief the lesson individually and set goals for the next coaching session. We believe this investment in the teacher is critical to ensuring teachers are equipped to meet the complex needs of their students who require the highest level of intervention to become skilled readers. To support the implementation of RAP and a range of students, we provide additional professional learning opportunities to support teachers and students in RAP. Bridge to 95 RAP, building pre-literacy skills, is designed to meet the needs of our youngest learners, focusing on 3 major emergent literacy skills: oral language, phonological awareness, and alphabetic principle. For students who are not yet ready for the full scope and sequence, this course addresses the emergent literacy skills while preparing them to enter the RAP program. 95 Write is a complement to 95 RAP, which uses a systematic approach to written language. The writing curriculum applies the fundamentals of continuous assessment and progress monitoring to differentiate writing instruction for students that require intensive intervention. Now let's take a moment to see the impact 95 RAP has had on one school district.
Before 95 RAP, we were just pulling resources from wherever we could find them, which was a lot of the work, right? And so we were spending a lot of our time like trying to figure out, what do we need to use? What do we need to do? We knew what kids needed to do. We just didn't know how to get them there. 95 RAP gave us a plan. It gave us the definite things we needed to focus on, the resources to get it there, the schedule, just the whole model of how to move kids.
Well, good morning, friends.
Good morning.
I am so glad to see you this morning. Did you have a good weekend? All righty, so let's go ahead and get started, all right? You know, we start with drill first. What does drill do for us?
Get the dust off our brain.
It does. And how do we answer our drill questions?
In a complete sentence.
Very good. Let me mark River absent. And
95 RAP is an intensive reading intervention designed for students with persistent reading difficulties. It is grounded in the science of reading and the core components of literacy instruction. The curriculum and technology guide teachers through instructional routines to teach foundational reading skills.
All right, we're starting with you, Miss Tegan. Tegan, what is the sound of G?
The sound of G is good for gum.
Very good. Kalia, what is the sound for the short letter O?
The sound for the short letter O is oct.
As in?
Octopus.
Octopus, beautiful.
95 RAP is really unique because we know that we can't replace a teacher. A highly skilled, knowledgeable teacher can't be replaced. And what the app does is it allows teachers to have all of the curriculum in one place.
All right, what's that second word that's in the box? Not the one with the line, Kalia. It is?
Hid.
Hid. So what does that mean, hid?
He hid the lid.
Okay, so when you hide something or when something is hid from you, you can't find it. Very good. And what
The app is collecting data as teachers are marking responses, And that gives them a lot of power to think about how they can really impact students.
Now we're working in our word attack component. This is the component where we do all the practicing and working on our patterns. So Araya, today in word attack, you're going to be working on CVC, short A words, okay? CVC stands for?
Consonant, vowel, consonant.
Good. And short A makes what sound? Very good. You're ready to start. Our children need to be given a good foundation, a firm foundation, a sure foundation. I grew up near Tarboro, actually outside of Tarboro, called Leggett. Sometimes we don't get what the big cities and towns and, they get. Sometimes our children don't have opportunities to go to the library and get a library card. Sometimes they're not afforded the ability to just sit down in front of a teacher that's got that good background to get what they need. And so this program, honestly, affords all of that. We are now ready for our fluency component, all right? This is where we get to practice all of our words that we've been working on in word attack. So let me tell you what you're gonna see. Rap is not a cookie cutter program. Rap is not one size fits all. Rap is what you need, it's what you get. And that's what I love about it. I have children that come to me and rap. They're working on their consonant letter, the sounds. Then I have children that are reading 3-letter blends. They all sit at the same table because it's so individualized that I give him or her exactly what they need and build on what they have and continue to build the skill set.
Bet, let, wed, put. I was 2 away.
Yes. All righty. You didn't miss any. Wonderful. We're just 2 away. Oh, that's strength right there, Lila. Nicely done. Go ahead and color your graph for me.
In the state of North Carolina and here in Edgecombe County, we assess students at the beginning, middle, and end of the year using the DIBELS 8 assessment. This year, when we looked at the data in winter, we saw that around 84% of students who had been receiving consistent RAP instruction had made significant progress in at least one DIBELS subtest. And that's the type of data we've seen really every year that we've been implementing RAP here in Edgecombe County.
Very good. Let's do it one more time. Hip. Say hip.
Hip.
Very good. Let's break it into its parts.
H, hip, I, P, hip.
Very good.
We saw early on that RAP was going to have a significant impact on our students' reading skills, and so we wanted to expand it throughout the district. And so we now have RAP teachers and tutors in every elementary school. We also have RAP teachers and tutors in some of our middle and high schools. And so it's really, truly amazing to be able to say to a family that no matter which school you pick in Edgecombe County Public Schools, if your child is struggling to read, we have a great intervention for them.
Remember, we are changing the medial phoneme sound, which means that we're changing the middle sound in a word. We're gonna start with the word SID. Tap it out, get ready. Id. Sid. Very good. We're gonna change I to A. Think about how that would sound. Ready to tap it out? S-A-D. Sad. Very good.
She walked over to Jack.
I think the kids, number one, get excited when they're successful. And that's what 95 RAP does. It measures where kids are and it starts them in their sweet spot. And it helps them first build confidence in themselves and then target the areas that they need improvement. So every kid wants to feel successful, and that's what 95 RAP does.
Every person who's ever been successful has had someone behind them with their hand in their back, pushing them forward. And for me, my coach was that person. I was able to call her. She was able to Skype with me and just kind of put her hand in my back and support me. When she would come to see me, I knew I wasn't getting everything right. I knew I wasn't, but I was trying. And that's the thing she said to me. She said, "You're gonna get this. You're gonna keep working at it and you're gonna get it." It took me back to being that little girl in Leggett that struggled to read. It took me back to that point. It took me back to when my teacher said, "We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this together, and you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be a good reader." And that's what my coach did for me. I knew that I could offer that to a child. I knew that there would be a Zena coming to sit in front of me, and I could offer that same push in the back. I could offer that same gleam. I could offer that same hope, confidence for that little kid that maybe one day, they'll be sitting here They'll be doing this. Yeah, they'll be happy.
Okay.
Justin, there's a couple questions in the chat.
Okay.
So I'm going to go up to the top here. The first two webinars, someone had missed them. Yes, this is recorded and we'll share the recordings with you. Secondly, what does 95 Wrap cover for comprehension?
I think at the heart of the comprehension components, we have a series of codable texts that are built into the platform. So as students are gaining their, skills in their word level reading, we've got connected text passages to go with those. So at the different levels in their phonics learning, we've got controlled text where those skills are being introduced into those connected text passages so that they can read connected text at the level. So they're really having success. But we've built in a series of questions that are built into the app as well that cover a variety of comprehension skills like story element, main idea, character, inference, and things like that. And we have lessons built to have students work on those type of skills, focus on those skills. You're able to highlight where you found your answer in the text. So we have a range of lessons that cover those comprehension skills, and those are built right into the app.
And then another question is, what's the timing and the breakdown of a typical session?
A session is typically 40 plus minutes long. There's an oral drill component, which is opportunity to teach concepts previously taught and really get students warmed up. Then we go into phonological awareness, and then the phonics component, and then there's fluency. Those are and you'll have word level fluency and then that connected text fluency. So those are the core components that you want to get to every day. If you have a 40-minute or longer block and you have time, we can bring in we have a spelling component, so you can bring in the encoding. It has its own diagnostic assessment, similar to the phonics assessment. So you can place students into that scope and sequence. They do the assessment, looks very similar, just takes a few sessions, and then they're able to actually write the responses on the screen and submit those to the teacher. And then we've got a vocabulary component where we can bring words that they're learning from their word list or from those connected text passages and bring those into vocabulary. And we have 5 different activity types that they can do in vocabulary. And then we have the comprehension component where, again, we've got readers at their level, passages at their level, and those comprehension questions, those comprehension lessons to go with those. So the core 4 are what you want to get to every day: the oral drill, phonological awareness, word attack, and fluency. If you have older students or you have more time, you can focus on that spelling piece, and then we can move on to comprehension when it's appropriate.
Justin, 2 questions have come up in the chat, and I think it's a great place to talk about the initial assessment that places students in RAP, but specifically how those questions help you decide on vocabulary lists and how students are initially placed in RAP.
Yep. So even if you're probably coming into RAP based on some other data you have in your school, a screener or something like that, or they may have a diagnosis or that. But once we get into RAP, we're going to start with our diagnostic assessment, which is going to start with letter names and sound, and move up through the CVC patterns and on up from there. And the app's going to track where they are, kind of where the gaps are, so to speak, where they're falling below proficient for those skills. And once the app sees that pattern and identifies that ceiling, it's going to stop. And then it's going to go back and start introducing skills based on that diagnostic. So if they miss just a couple of letters, then we're going to go back and just introduce those couple of letters. And sometimes you'll hear, well, you got to go back and just get, 1 or 2 letters. Well, that may be part of that missing piece for them and those foundational skills. So we want to go back and capture those. And then we're going to move forward. And maybe it's, CVCI, maybe that's the skill that they missed. And that's where we're going to land and start that instruction. So the diagnostic, even if you have some general data for your students, it's really going to target in what those explicit, kind of specific deficits are, and then start instruction there. And then maybe it moves ahead. If the next skill in line, they pass that one through assessment, then it may move on to the next one. So it's really going to tailor what they see based on that diagnostic. And then for vocabulary and the other components, that's really triggered off initially from their placement in that phonics word attack that sequence. So their vocabulary words can be pulled right off their word attack list, or they can be pulled from those passages that are aligned with where they are with their phonics decoding. I saw a question about technology requirement. So the system is designed really to deliver completely on technology. So that can, but there are many times, and even in that video, we saw that teacher, she actually had her students use a whiteboard. But for each component, some of the components are things for the students to see on the screen, but sometimes they're not. But again, for that word attack phonics component, those students' words prompts are going to appear on the screen. The words are going to appear on the screen. And if the strategy is to highlight the vowel, they can just do that right on the screen. But sometimes teachers have them work on a piece of paper or on a dry erase board or something like that because they don't have the technology, or they just want them to have the tactile writing experience. So it's really designed to be friendly with or without technology. If your district supplies one-on-one devices, it can be put in their Clever or ClassLink teacher page or something like that. Or sometimes if you're an interventionist, your school will issue you just 4 devices, which you can have with you, and you hand them out just for that session. You connect your students with a PIN code. So it's really, we're trying to lower the barrier of the technology, but it certainly can be implemented both ways. We find the technology allows us for that really for that individualization. And it works on Chromebooks or iPads or any type of device. It's a web app, so it works on anything.
Justin, can you speak a little bit to this question? Diane says, I'm seeing 4 different lessons in the same time space. How are these students fully engaged throughout the time in the group?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw that question. And honestly, that's one of the key questions we get. Like that is the magic question. Like, how do I teach 4 different students 4 different things at the same time? And that's really where both the technology and our lesson structure support that and work well. These skills are really all cumulative. You're building up. So they're going to start to, and we're going to make sure they know the letter names and sounds, and we're going to kind of move through that skill continuum. So it's not like today we're learning something totally abstract and different. We're building, and our routines are very stable and consistent. So we're not one day going to be doing a word sort, and the next day going to be doing a chip activity, and the next day we're going to be labeling. Like this is an intensification. It's building on what they've seen in core and tier 2 potentially. So we're really focused on our core strategy, and the students learn that routine. So often when it's time to introduce that new skill, we're going to provide that whole dialogue for you. You may not know what the floss rule is when it pops up, or you may not know what a diphthong is when it pops up, but we're going to explain that. You can learn right along with your students. But once they have that basic, what's that new concept? Majority of the time the students are off to the races at that point. They're very engaged with, they've got their new task and what they are you applying that strategy to this new skill or pattern. And we find that just the littlest bits of instruction, it's not like we're learning something new. We're actually just building on what they've already learned using the strategy we've already learned. And a lot of times the students know it as well as the teacher. So they know it's word attack. They know it's time. What are we working on today? You noticed in that video, the teacher said, today we're working on CVC, short A. I was there in the room when that happened, and she asked her in that moment, please tell me what the rule is for CVC short A. The student was able to say what the rule was, vowel followed by a consonant, and then what the sound of the vowel was, short vowel sound, gave the hand gesture, and she said, you're right, and now your words are on your screen. And that student was ready to go. And then if there was another student, she would do the same little mini lesson. If she needed to stop and introduce the skill, she would. But the lessons are really designed to be little bite-sized pieces of instruction, and you're really cumulatively building every day. So I just tell teachers to not think about maybe a traditional where everybody gets out all their paper and they all they're all together working on the same skill, and it's kind of a multi-part lesson. We're just really targeting this strategy, and they're going to do it, and they're going to know it really well. So you'll see students very engaged, and I'm not just saying this as one who's worked with the program a lot of times. You'll hear comments like, this is better than reading, or they want to go to this intervention because they know it and they're successful. And that just kind of snowballs, and they just want to keep doing it. So that's really what we see with RAP.
I think this next question might be more for Joni, but Justin, feel free to chime in. Joni, Nancy asked, would this be used in conjunction with the tier 2 and or tier 1 solutions? And I think that's a great question in terms of going back to the alignment of all of the tiers and our 95 literacy ecosystem. So Joni, if you could talk a little bit about that, the alignment of all the tiers.
Absolutely.
And Justin, feel
Nancy,
free
that's a
to add
great
in.
question. Yeah, thanks, Shanitra, for bringing that up. I did see it and was gonna try to see if I could wedge my way into that. Just we want to talk about the 3 tiers of instruction. Always those tiers, so that core is going to be critical, and that's going to be that skill continuum that we're building off of. And we are hitting them hard in the core, hoping to reduce the number of kids that then will need that additive instruction in tier 2. So it's never tier 2, tier 3 are never replacement for the tiers above it. We always want to think of our tier 2 and our tier 3 as additive, more intensive, spending more time and really digging deeper on that particular skill. So it's in conjunction, absolutely. And the part that is so lovely about our ecosystem is making those tiers conjunctive and being able to do those all. So a student could get that core instruction, go to a tier 2 intervention, go to a tier 3 um, uh, class as well, and be able to understand all the language. For instance, the gestures being used for the syllable types, they're all going to use the same gestures. They're going to use the same academic vocabulary. So that is one of the really beautiful things about our ecosystem, is that students truly are not going to have to learn the language, um, the um, the components that go into what the teacher is providing them. All they need to do is focus on the actual skill that's being taught to them. So yes, in conjunction with tier 1, tier 3, it's all going to be additive to that core foundation. Hope that answered the question.
I would just add everything Joni said. And, like when you bring it into that tier 3 space, again, it's additive. It's not going to replace that core instruction, and it's going to be aligned. So they're not learning, you're hearing different things or different ways of referring to long vowel silent E or any of those type of things. But it's also with rap, it's really that intensification. So it's go time when you get to tier 3. So, if they were struggling with a certain pattern, our word lists have 40, 50, 60 items on them, and they're going to need to get all those words correct. Our mastery model is 3 days in a row, and then it goes into a review cycle that's then 3 Mondays in a row, or the first day of the week, before that one item is marked as mastered. And if you think, well, there's 40 items on a list, they're going to really practice that. They're going to practice that skill to automaticity. They're going to get a lot of opportunities for feedback. They're going to get a lot of opportunities to, again, I just don't want to keep using the word automatic, really become automatic. So that's a difference. You're really saying, we're really gonna dig in on these skills. You're bringing a toolkit. You're bringing this. You're familiar with these terms. You've been exposed before, but now we're really going to practice them to automaticity and the individualized nature, where we're each day tracking your. So even if you made a short vowel E small group, they're going to progress at their own speeds. They're going to each there's some are going to move more quickly than others. So even if you were to start them in the same spot, they're going to have different errors that they're going to be corrected on. They're going to advance at their own speed. So it just really lets the students have lots of opportunities to practice and progress at their own pace. In that video, also something I hear from teachers when they see a tier 3 session, really some of the really key, due to the nature of students are having success and it's fast paced, they can each work at their own level so they can be successful in a small group working at their own skills. It's generally a very positive, very supportive space. So they are often celebrating, they're celebrating their success. They're notified when they move to a new list. They get to color in their fluency graph. They get to celebrate when those lists are in their fluency, they move on to a new list because they met their goal. And again, they could have students working on multisyllabic words and students working on blends or on letter sounds right in the same group, and they're not really focused on what the other one's working on. They're just focused on meeting those milestones. So as you saw in that video, it's very positive, and I think that's where these are kids who haven't had success with reading in this setting, because they're working at their level and they're getting feedback and moving at their own pace. It really changes the dynamic where they just are able to really focus on the reading skills and not the other pieces. So I think that is as much a part of the RAP model as the detailed curriculum. So to recap, as we've mentioned throughout the presentation this evening, RAP is really it's a turnkey tier 3 solution. All those pieces are in there. It closes foundational gaps through that direct, explicit, cumulative mastery-based instruction. It includes the integrated diagnostic, so there's no guesswork about where your students need to be placed, and it targets those skill deficits. It's very individualized in a small group. So, it's one-on-one style instruction, but in a small group. So you're getting the benefits of having more than one student, but it being individualized. It's really, we know how important the teacher is. So the training technology empower the teacher, but the teacher's always involved. The teacher's delivering all the instruction, hearing all the responses, providing all the feedback, grading all the responses. So it's very teacher driven, and the teacher is delivering the instruction. And then it's happening on a digital device, and we capture all that data and make that data visible. You saw some of those screens there today.
So I'm going to close you out by making sure that you mark your calendars to register for an upcoming webinar we have on Tuesday, September 30th, where we'll be joined by Louisa Moats and Bruce Rousseau, and they are going to talk about and dive into their program spellography. It is a fantastic program that talks about all the layers of language, including spelling, syllabication, morphology. All you have to do is use that QR code there on the screen, or I think Barb's might throw in the link to register in the chat. But don't want to miss that. That'll be an exciting one. Amazing 4-volume program that really does great things for our older students. And then finally, if you go ahead and click to the next slide, if you'd like to connect with the account executive for your area, you can find their contact info on this slide. I know they'd be happy to answer any other questions or give you a closer look at any of our programs that have been in this 3-part series, or any of the other programs that we offer, or our diagnostic assessments that we offer as well. And we just want to thank you for joining us this evening. It has truly been our pleasure.